Okay, so let's talk about another tool, which is called Live Paint. And it's another way for us to go ahead and paint our illustration in a different way other than just using either the fill. We can also use the blob brush. Um, and then now we're going to use the Live Paint tool. So one of the things that happens with live paint is that it turns it into an object. So we want to be thoughtful and mindful about that as we're working. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just something that you need to be aware of. So for example, um, I will just go ahead and I'm just going to start from one of these objects and kind of move across here. Um, so in order to use this, you need to actually select it. So I'm going to just draw a marquee over it like this. And then once I have sort of everything, and I'm just kind of checking to make sure everything is selected, I can now select the K tool, which turns on the live paint. And you can also find the live paint underneath the width tool. And you can see because there's a little arrow here, if you click and hold, there are other things nested. So if it's, you might initially just see the shape builder tool that's nested inside of the shape builder tool. And we also have the live paint selection tool as well, which we'll get to in just a moment. So just with live paint, so the way that this works is you can see that we get what looks like these swatches here, and we can use our arrows to move to different swatches. And one of the things I want to show you is if we come and open our swatch panel here, you can see that essentially all it's doing is it's kind of moving along. So if you look at where this is selected here, if I just continue with my arrow key, you can see that it is just moving to the next swatch. You don't have to necessarily just use that. You can also just come in here and click. So with this particular one, I'm just going to come in and maybe grab a pink here, and then I'm just going to click here like this. And let's just go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can kind of see what we're doing. And then I can, instead of coming to the swatches here, I can hit the arrow key and say that I want to just make a little lighter one like this. And then I want a darker pink. So maybe something like this for the strawberry, like that. Um, I can also, let's see, let's make sure, oops, I don't want to do that. Let me undo that. I just want these little sort of cute little cheeks here. And then let me come in and select sort of a green. So I'll go with this one right here, and then maybe a lighter one over here like this. Okay, now all I have to do is click another key in order to get out of this, and you can see that now I have sort of easily colored this. Now, what makes this super helpful and beneficial is that you can see that they're not actually solid shapes here. So for example, do you see how in this next one here, I just have this line here, and I have this shape here. Um, Here is a shape here, here's a shape here. Here is just this is actually a group. Let me ungroup that so we can see this. So you can see that this is just a line, and then I click off, and here's another line. So what makes this beneficial and why you might want to use this is unlike what we've done in the past where you have to actually make a closed shape in order to color, this will allow us to color in areas without having to have colored shapes. So I'll go ahead and just kind of select this a little object here and press the K to get to our direct or our live paint tool. Okay, so um, let's see, I'm gonna go with some blues here maybe. And you can see that when I click on this, do you see how it only selects this? So it selected this line, this path here with this, and decided to make this a color instead of this entire shape here. So I'll just kind of move between different colors here in order to kind of get different selections. Let's see, let's go with a little darker one here, something like that. And then maybe I will go up to this pink here. And let's sort of alternate this like this, something along those lines. You can pick any colors that you would like. And then maybe I'll make this kind of look like an orange. So maybe I'll do a dark orange here, maybe dark here and here, and then maybe this little lighter orange for here and here and here. All right, and then I can just click off of this and you can see that this was an easy way to color this. So we'll sort of just kind of go through each of these. You can go ahead and select any colors that you would like. So again, um, I can certainly, and if you just saw what I did, I don't have anything selected, but I clicked on the key K in order to color, and you can see that it's not coloring anything, and that's because I don't have anything selected. So I'm going to get out of this by going to the V key, and then what I'm going to do is just sort of highlight the V or marquee over this so that I can highlight and select and color in this. All right, now with this, now I can press the K key here, and I'm going to go in and just look a little closer here, and let's see, let's go with, I don't know, maybe we'll go with these purples here. So I'll go with the purple here. I come down here, maybe a darker purple here, and then let me come in and grab some pinks maybe for the little toppings or sprinkles that we have here. And I'll get some other colors in here. So maybe I'll actually do this one like this too. And then maybe brighter purple. All right. And then for the cheeks here, maybe I'll just switch over to a lighter one, something along that. And then I need kind of the stick here that's holding this. So let's see, we'll do something like this. And then maybe next to it like that. So they're slightly different. Okay, so you can see how easy this is to sort of color these in. Let's go ahead and just spend some time coloring through this, and then I'm going to show you something else that you can do here. So I'm just going to select this, and if I don't have everything selected, so you see how I didn't have that selected, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, draw another marquee to make sure that I'm getting everything. And it didn't look like I did, so I'm going to go ahead and do this again and just making it a little bigger. There we go. And then I'll press the K key here, and I'm just going to zoom in here so I can see this a bit better. All right. Again, pick any colors that you would like. I'm just kind of randomly picking colors here, so feel free to do what you think works best. Maybe do something like this. And then let's do a whole bunch of fun confetti here. So I'm going to do this in a couple of spaces. Not confetti, sprinkles. They're kind of like confetti, just a little different. You eat sprinkles, you don't eat confetti, or generally you don't eat confetti. All right, let's see, a couple other colors here. All right, and then down here, let's see, maybe I'll do sort of a light pink here. All right, and then I have a cherry right here, so let's make this a pretty bright sort of cherry. And I'll just do some orange sort of colors, orangey. That didn't look very different here, so let me go to maybe a different one here. Obviously, we can just kind of zoom in so that we can really just check to see. It looked like that one did just fine. Okay. All right, now I have this cute little one here. Select off of this, and then I'll go ahead and do our last one here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw over to select everything here, press the K key here, and then I'm going to, um, let's see, make this one a little lighter. Not as light as I would like, so let's see about coloring that again. And like that. Little cheeks, orange, and I'm going to leave those as white, but I can go ahead and just select this as white, like this. All right, so I have that one. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just select all of the stars. So I'm going to just sort of select those as well, so I can use the same live paint tool like this. And then I'm going to press K, and I'm just going to come into some of our oranges and yellows, and I'm just going to sort of drop these off in different locations so that there's a bit of a difference along the way here. And then maybe a little lighter one. Let's see, here and here. And maybe this one, here, and then maybe like that. Okay, I have them all colored, and now I'm going to select off. All right, and now you can see I have everything colored. I have it colored the way I want, so you're welcome to go in and color as you'd like. You can see that I've given you some pastel colors. Certainly you can come in and select different colors here. All right, so the other thing that I want to show you is you can actually also do this with your strokes here. So we went in and colored the actual shapes here, but in addition to using this tool here, so again, I'm just going to sort of select this first shape here or object, and you can see that it selects everything, and then I press the K. And in general, it doesn't show you that you can actually color in the actual strokes here, but you actually can do that. If you go back over to your tool bar over here, and when you go to Live Paint Bucket, you're going to click and hold, and now we're going to go to our selection tool. It's the Live Paint selection, so it's Shift L. And now what you can see is, you see when I'm scrolling over this now, instead of it just being the outline, if I scroll over just sort of the stroke here, I can actually select the stroke. And as long as this is up here at the top, I can now come in and also change the stroke. So you can do that as well. So this is another way to sort of not just sort of fill in the fill, but where you can kind of come in and also paint or change the stroke along different segments here. So this can also be another sort of fun and easy way in order to paint. You can see that when things are made, so I'm going to just zoom in a little bit here, it's really just on the stroke that you've selected. So you have to be super careful about this. So when I come in here, in order to be able to select on these things, you need to make sure that you understand how things are built, and that you are selecting only what it is that you want to select. So I am just going to come in here. So as I'm kind of looking at this, you have to make sure you get the correct one. So there's actually a couple of lines here, which is why we're seeing a little bit of the overlap here. So you'll just have to be careful when you're doing that as you're filling that in. But you certainly can color in some of the strokes, which is I think a really sort of neat way to work with this tool as well. Gives you a lot of options and a lot of variation and variety. So say that I want this to be maybe right, something like this. So again, I'm kind of making a mess of this right now, but I just really wanted to show you that in addition to filling in spaces, you can also go in and color individual strokes. The only thing that you need to be mindful of is, depending on how you actually built it, it will pick up an entire path. And you have to actually use the shift key in order to select the other paths that might be either overlapping or close to what you're working with. But I'm going to just do Command Z to sort of move out here and just kind of get rid of some of those strokes because I really liked the final solution here. And this is a live paint, and it is also another beneficial way for you to go in and paint in your illustrations. Okay, so if you remember at the beginning, I said that I wanted you to be aware that when we do live paint, that it makes it into an object. And I want to address that right now so you can see how you might be able to modify this. So now that I have painted this, if I sort of just click on something like this, do you see that it sort of makes it a group like this? You can't ungroup it and be able to work with it. So it's not a group. That's what I meant by it being an object. So say that we want to go in and recolor this. So if I just press the K here and I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the color to something like this, not a problem, right? So I can actually, and I can just actually undo in that regard. But say that I actually want to separate this again. Um, one thing that you should be aware of is the actual live paint is actually in the object menu up here. So you go to object, you scroll down, and there is live paint. So you can do a couple of things. One is you can release, you can also expand. So if I press the release key or this button, it actually will release the color and get rid of all the color and kind of back to sort of a line drawing, but it also takes away some of the properties that I have of the line. So I'm actually going to do just undo. So I can also show you if we go to object and go to live paint and we press expand, the expand allows us to not only keep sort of the characteristic here, but if I click on this, I can actually, whoops, I have to actually ungroup it. And then I click on this, I can actually separate the colored version from the actual line work here. Now, you can see that the eyes came along because those were actually shapes as well. So when it separates, it's separating from the line work. Okay. Actually, I'm surprised actually, since these are also shapes here. Let me see. Um, well, I haven't had that issue before. I wonder why it is staying with. Let me ungroup that again, see if that's, oh, there it is. Okay, so it's just a matter, I didn't actually ungroup it enough, so that makes sense there. Okay, so I just ungrouped it once, but you can see that when I do this, I can move it around like this, and it actually starts to expand, so I can move it, or maybe I say that I want to recolor it, and then you just press ungroup a number of times until you get all of the pieces ungrouped. So you can see now I have this ungrouped from this and from this and from this. So you can see that my colors are now separated. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to show you that this is somewhat unique. It doesn't necessarily function exactly like a group, and you have to be mindful when you're working like this. Whoops, I keep on, there we go. That you need to understand why it turns it into an object and it's not actually a group.